Welcome back, YouTube. It's OldChevy4x4 coming to you on a miserable, cold, rainy Saturday night. Guys, it's January the 30th. I hope y'all are doing well. A friend of mine here on YouTube, Cheezehead Chris, wanted to see a little closer look at the actual procedure for cleaning up and a little closer look at the inner workings of this little Coleman stove that I showed you in my last video. So, without further ado, guys, let's take a look. So the really nice thing about, well, all these Colemans is they're pretty simple, pretty basic. You can work on them with just a couple of general hand tools, crescent wrench, wrenches if you got them, needle nose pliers, screwdrivers, and this highly specialized device right here that you can't just go out to the store and buy. You know what I mean? This is a paddle bit for removing the check valve. There's actually a real tool for removing that check valve, but somewhere here on YouTube, I ran into a video of a guy who mentioned he uses a 3/4 inch wood paddle bit. He's knocked off the pilot, and it's a perfect fit for those check valves. First and easiest thing to work on is the plunger cup, or the pump cup. It's a little piece of leather, or in newer kits it's rubber. Little rubber cup there. Take your pliers, got a little retainer ring right here. You're going to simply remove that small spring clip and then remove the plunger. Removal of the cup itself, if the cup is bad, is really easy. It's one of two things. It's either this threaded little kind of a funky looking nut, if it's an older style, or the newer style has a little press-on clip, and I can't really show you all that well because it's in the package. There's a little real thin metal like snap-on press-on clip. So that's really easy to replace, and that's probably the most common thing that goes wrong with them. Now inside of here you have an air tube as well. That's got to come out. First thing, you always want to kind of take a look at that little seat there and make sure it's not jacked up, and it's not. We're going to take our paddle bit, or if you have the actual tool for this, you know, more power to you. But this works. Now these can be a little stubborn. And there's the check valve. Commonly, what will happen with a check valve problem is it'll have some nasty buildup down here, and it's got to be cleaned off. You can use some carburetor cleaner, wash it real good in some Dawn with a little nylon scrub brush, something like that, and whatever you got to do to clean that up if that's part of the problem. Onto the valve. And remove this really long needle from the generator, and you got to be very careful because at the end of this, if it will show, I can't see my screen so I don't know what y'all can see, but there's a very fine little wire point on there, and if that little guy gets damaged, bent, hooked over, anything like that, you're done. It's not going to work. So be very careful with that. And then you can take off your generator tube. This is basically what heats your fuel to the point where it starts to vaporize. As this generator heats up, fuel traveling through there turns into vapor. So that's the short side of the cleanup. That's the easy stuff. Change pump cup, check valve replacement or cleanup if need be. And a lot of the stuff is still readily available online. It's really easy to come up with new replacement parts, Coleman parts, aftermarket parts, all kinds of stuff. Going a little deeper, if you have more problems, you can take the valve itself off. And the pickup, there's a little tiny hole there. This activates a little tiny wire that moves in and out down there. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. There you can see it. Yeah. You can clean this up. Set that back to the closed or the open position so it's away from that. Soak it, spray it, do whatever you got to do. You can tear it all apart too if you really need to, but at least in this case, that was not necessary. And last but not least, and should have probably been second, I guess, or maybe even first, probably the most common thing to go wrong with these. I guess, you know, again, I'm no expert. I'm just thinking most of the time they don't build pressure, so you got to put a pump cup in it. But a lot of times, it'll pump, it'll build pressure, but it leaks back out through the seal and the cap. Some of these caps are multi-piece. They've got a screw that goes down. Others are single piece like this, and there is a little gasket down inside of there. And again, readily available online. Now for reassembly, I've seen some folks on the tubes. You know, they use like a thread sealant, like a liquid, not a tape. And I've seen some use even just a little clear nail polish. Knock on wood, guys. Between this and the lanterns I've worked on, I've never had a problem with leaking after just snugging them back up. One thing about brass, especially with going into steel, you don't want to over tighten because it pulls those threads. I went ahead and just sprayed that with a little cleaner just because I had it apart anyways. I'm going to go ahead and put the tip back on with a nozzle, I guess you'd call it. Reinsert the generator. So you don't want to over tighten your packing nut, and again you don't want to over tighten your valve either. You want it so it's relatively easy to turn by hand. You don't want it too loose, it'll bleed pressure. You don't want it too tight because you'll just, you know, struggle and end up probably damaging the tip because you'll be twisting harder than you realize you're twisting. But right there it is, so that's snugly closed. It's open. All is right with the world. We can go ahead and fill this back up and light it up and it would run just fine. So, Chris, I hope that helped you out. Let me know if it did. Let me know if it didn't. Let me know what I could have done different or done better, and I'll be glad to take a mental note of that. As always, guys, thank you all very much for watching the videos. Check out the channel. Leave it in the comments and all that good stuff. Y'all do me a favor, please stay safe, stop back. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.